Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Healthy Over 50 podcast. I am Liliane Roux, health coach, personal trainer, and founder of Healthy Over 50. Today, we're talking about a topic that affects so many people, especially high-performing professionals, caregivers, parents, and people constantly juggling responsibilities. We're talking about stress, burnout, and what prolonged pressure is actually doing to the body and the mind. Because here is the truth: burnout is not simply being tired, and stress is not only in your head. Modern science now shows us that stress affects our nervous system, our hormones, our immune system, our metabolism, our sleep, our mood, and even our long-term health. So today, I want to break this down in a very simple and practical way. But what is stress really? From a psychological perspective, stress is generally understood as the mental and emotional response that happens when we feel that the demands placed on us exceed our ability to cope. What's fascinating is that stress is deeply linked to our perception, our interpretation, our emotional resilience, our beliefs, and even our past experiences. Two people can experience the exact same situation completely differently. One person feels challenged, the other feels overwhelmed. Why? Because stress is not only about the situation itself, it's also about how safe we feel, how much control we believe we have, and the meaning our brain attaches to the experience. This is why things like work pressure, financial worries, conflict, uncertainty, perfectionism, fear of failure, or grief can impact people so differently. Now, we don't really talk about the physiology of stress, the physiology of stress. So let's talk about what happens inside the body. From a physiological perspective, stress is the body's biological response to a real or perceived threat. The body is essentially trying to help us survive. And when that happens, there are two major systems that are being activated. The first one is the sympathetic nervous system. So this is your fight or flight system. And that system increases the heart rate, your breathing. It increases your alertness, and it releases glucose in the bloodstream to prepare you for action. Now, the second system is what we call the HPA axis. So this stands for the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So this system releases stress hormones such as cortisol, adrenaline. Now, these hormones are not bad. In fact, acute stress can actually improve focus, increase performance, enhance reaction time, and help us adapt. Stress becomes problematic when it becomes chronic, unresolved, and excessive. Now, not too many people really understand what chronic stress actually does to the body. When the stress response stays activated for too long, it starts affecting many systems in the body. Chronic stress can impact sleep, digestion, blood sugar, hormones, immune function, inflammation, cardiovascular health, body composition, and mental well being. And this is where many people begin feeling constantly tired, wired, but exhausted, emotionally reactive, foggy, or disconnected from themselves. So when we talk about chronic stress, we automatically think about burnout. What is burnout? Burnout is often misunderstood. From a psychological perspective, burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and motivational exhaustion caused by prolonged stress and insufficient recovery. But it's not laziness, it's not a weakness, and it's not a lack of resilience. Burnout is deeper than simply feeling tired. It's a depletion of emotional energy, motivation, mental clarity, and sense of effectiveness. From a physiological perspective, burnout is essentially chronic nervous system dysregulation. The body remains stuck in survival mode for too long. Now, how can you tell when there is a burnout? Where there are three core signs of burnout, and one is emotional exhaustion, feeling drained, overwhelmed, like you have nothing left to give. People that are experiencing burnout sometimes, become emotionally disconnected from their work, their relationships, their responsibility. You can see that a once passionate person may suddenly feel numb. And that's what we see, a bit of detachment. Another thing we see, and this is the third sign, is a reduced sense of accomplishment. Even high performers can begin feeling ineffective, stuck, or like nothing they do is enough anymore. So these are kind of the three core signs of burnout: emotional exhaustion, cynicism or detachment, and a reduced sense of accomplishment. So as we think of burnout, which is way beyond the regular stress that most people can experience in their daily lives, as we said, burnout is when stress continues for too long, the nervous system struggles to shift properly between activation and recovery. And this is when, people often describe feeling wired but exhausted. The body may begin showing symptoms like fatigue, poor sleep, cravings, abdominal fat gain, brain fog, digestive issues, as we discussed earlier for your stress, frequent illness, low motivation, and sometimes even anxiety symptoms. Chronic stress can also affect blood sugar regulation, thyroid function, sex hormones, appetite regulation, and inflammation. Even the brain is affected. Burnout can impair memory, concentration, decision making, and emotional regulation. So who is at risk? Who is most at risk? Burnout is particularly common amongst caregivers, healthcare professionals, corporate leaders, high-pressure sales environments, parents, and people constantly expected to perform at a high level. And very often, the people most vulnerable to burnout are the most responsible, the most committed, and the most driven people. So we need to remove the stigma. I think this is incredibly important. Burnout is not a personal failure. It is often the consequence of prolonged stress exposure without sufficient recovery, support, regulation, meaning, or boundaries. And this is why just pushing through usually makes things worse. So what recovery really requires, recovery is holistic. It often requires nervous system regulation, sleep restoration, movement, proper nutrition, emotional processing, human connection, and reducing the overall stress load. Sometimes people think they need more discipline, but often what they actually need is more recovery, more regulation, and more support. So if you've been feeling exhausted, disconnected, emotionally flat, or constantly under pressure, please know this: your body is not working against you. Your body is communicating with you. And you need to start to listen. And healing does not start by pushing harder. It starts by listening. So listen to your body. Thank you so much for being here today. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who may need to hear this message. And as always, remember, your health is your control. You can control your health. So see you next time on the Healthy Over 50 podcast. My name is Liliane, but you can call me Lily. And I wish you a beautiful day. And I'll speak to you in the next one.